It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My first guest this week is Swamp Dogg. It's his third time on our show, a rare honor, but one that the man has earned. Swamp Dogg is the recording name of the singer and songwriter Jerry Williams. He started in show business as a kid. He put out his first song at 12 with his mom playing drums. At first he was a singer, touring as Little Jerry Williams. Then in the 60s, he was a record company man. He worked A&R, produced bands, he wrote a couple of R&B hits with his friend Gary U.S. Bonds. But it's his music as Swamp Dogg that makes him a legend today. It's a hard discography to classify. It's straight soul music pushed through a surreal, hilarious, psychedelic lens. And it's all sung by a voice that is very distinctive. It's one of my favorites. I mean, listen to this Swamp Dogg track, a cover of John Prine's song, Sam Stone.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pictures have big ears, but don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. Sam Stone.
These days, more and more people are getting hip to Swamp Dogg. His old LPs have been reissued, and he's still making records. He's closing in on 24 albums now. He's got a new one out. It's called Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune. On it, he has collaborated with folks like Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, Guitar Shorty, and the whole thing is produced by Ryan Olsen of the synth-pop band Polisa. It's another left turn in a career full of left turns. Let's take a listen to a single from Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune. It's called I'll Pretend.
I'll pretend that you're gone on vacation, and you'll be back in a week or maybe two. And when the phone rings, I'll pretend it's you calling to tell me you miss me and you coming home soon.
Swamp Dogg, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for coming back.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back. It's been a long time.
You know, I didn't know how many musicians were through your house when you were a little kid. Where'd you grow up?
Portsmouth, Virginia.
And so how did you end up with these dudes rolling through your house?
Well, there weren't any black hotels, motels in Virginia. Now, my mother and my father were musicians, and they were always on the road. And they would work with some of these people, and they just got to know some of these people. And they would ask them, so look, we headed to Virginia, so where can we stay? Well, we had a big house. When I say big, it was like 4 extra bedrooms in there after us. They would go there and stay. I met people like Louis Jordan, who came by the house to pick up his band. And very few of the leaders stayed there. And I think back now, I wonder where the hell they stayed. They might have, of course, they might have had girlfriends and so forth. Everybody had girlfriends in every town. Yeah, I met all of these guys when they would come by to pick up their band. Sometimes they'd get out the car and come up on the front porch. A lot of this was in the summertime. And come up on the front porch and they'd talk. And I was a little guy, but I was listening and sucking it in, you know, and I wanted to be a singer. Bad enough, some. You asked me, how did I get to meet these people? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah. But that's basically it. And then when I would go to the theaters, the ones that I didn't know, it was only one exit out of this theater. And when they would come out, you could stop them. You know, say, hey, man, I really enjoyed it. My name is, the whole thing.
Right.
And it's funny, they had a law down there where they had to keep all the doors locked but one. So they would pull the door together, and they had chains around it. Now, if one of those theaters had caught on fire, it would have been a but the white theaters didn't have that. Everywhere you saw an exit sign, all you had to do was push the bar and go on out. Guess they wanted to burn up all the huh?
So when you first started recording, nobody knew you as Swamp Dogg. You wouldn't be Swamp Dogg for quite a while afterwards. At the time, you were Jerry Williams. In fact, you were recording as Little Jerry Williams. This is a song called HTD Blues from 1954. How old were you?
12.
Let's hear it.
Hey, baby, I like to tell you how I feel. Well, baby, I like to tell you how I feel. How you be getting by my clothes, and every day give me a free meal. Oh, well, I've got the blues. I'm from the country down. Oh, well, I've got the blues. I'm from the country down. Oh, well, the kind of blues I got, you couldn't get them in a town. Oh, now I know I drink my whiskey, and sometimes get carried away. Oh, now I know I drink my whiskey, and sometimes get carried away.
Was that were other members of your family playing on that record?
Yeah, that was my mama on drums, and my father on guitar, and I guess his brother, my uncle, on bass.
You must have been quite the attraction. I mean, for one thing, I imagine you were probably a pretty small kid, because you're not that big a dude right now.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. I need to be wrong. I should have stayed in bed.
A medium-sized man now.
Woo! Thank you.
But it must have been something for people to come out and see you, 12 years old, singing like you were Big Joe Turner or you were Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, I was trying to copy Big Joe Turner with that thing when I sung. And, of course, I didn't get it. Plus, during that time, hell, I was cute, too, I didn't know how fast cute would leave.
You're still cute, Swamp. Don't worry.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You must have got that money I sent you in the mail. Huh?
When you were like 24, you actually had a hit record. Not a monster, huge hit record, but I imagine for you at the time it must have felt like one, called Baby You're My Everything. Let's hear a little bit of it, and then we'll talk about it.
Now, let me correct you just a little bit here. The first chart record was I'm the Lover Man. That went up the pop chart. We didn't get hardly any black play. The only black radio play I remember was by a big disc jockey in Philadelphia called Lloyd Fatman, and WIBG, which was like the monster pop station. You could hear that song in hell, They taped it off of his show. It was so hot. The record went up in the 40s. That was my first hit record. The only thing about it, it was only played on white stations around the country, and they thought I was like #1 in some part of Vermont or somewhere. I mean, somewhere it was cold as hell and with no blacks. And some guy booked me up there, right? And I showed up. I was supposed to do 2 shows. When I finished singing, the promoter called me over. He said, "Look here, man, here's the rest of your money, but you don't have to do the next show. We thought you was white." I said, "No, I ain't white." But, I took the money and left. I mean, wasn't nothing to say. I mean, how do you argue that? He thought I was white. I thought I was black.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. I'm talking with the soul singer, producer, and songwriter Swamp Dogg. His new record is called Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune. It's out now. What did people think of your singing voice? Because that song that we just heard, that's about as sweet as it gets for one of your vocals. It sounds, it gets towards sounding like a Swamp Dogg record in the singing, but in the beginning it sounds like a sweet soul singer.
Yeah.
But your voice is probably one of the most distinctive parts about you as a performer. I mean, I remember one time in college playing one of your records on the radio when I had a music show.
And
it was in Santa Cruz. No, this old hippie called me up, which was the only people that ever called the radio station in Santa Cruz. You'll be surprised to hear. Pick up the phone. This nice old hippie says, "Hey, man, what was that record? It sounded like if Van Morrison had a baby with Cher." And I think he meant it as a compliment.
Yeah.
I certainly knew exactly what he was talking about.
I've been compared to Van Morrison so much that in the last year, because people ask me what kind of music do I sing, damn if I know, because everything keeps changing in my productions and my songs.
I mean, you got this auto-tune record out. I think the last time you were on the show, I was talking to you about a soca record.
Yeah. My music keep changing, but the songs don't always complement. I'll do something that's almost spiritual, and I'll turn around and do something about screwing, But to me, that's spiritual, Shit. Can't get more spiritual, boy, than a good banging. But anywho, I digress.
So let's get back to your earlier days, your Jerry Williams days. Were you touring a lot?
Yeah, I'd play places, and I played the Brevoort Theater. This was more money than I had ever made. I think I was getting $1,500 a night for 3 nights. Oh, I was going, things I had planned. Then, as Baby You My Everything started getting big and I was traveling, the only way I could figure out how to keep some money was skip out on the hotel bills, right? So I must owe every hotel in Cleveland, this. I used to throw parties and then I became a master at slipping out the hotel. I don't care what floor I was on or whatever. I had one that was really good. I used to send telegrams to myself to whatever hotel I was in. And I could just about figure out when it was about time for them to bring the hammer down, 'cause I'm up there, eating lamb chops and baked Alaska and all kinds of shit, right? So I'd send myself
You sent yourself a telegram.
a telegram. And it would say something like, Freddie Scott is not going to make it tonight. Will you fill in? I would come back. I'd be outside the hotel. I'd come back to the hotel. This was at the Taft in New York. When I would come in, the people at the desk would run and grab me and say, hey, man, you got an emergency. They want you in Boston, to play the Sugar Shack. So you better get ready. I was already ready. My was already packed. And then I'd come down, I'd walk up to the thing, and I'd leave notes for where I would be and go right across the street to the Victoria and check in. The only thing you needed to check into a hotel was a suitcase. That's all. Just to prove you're a traveler. Just need a suitcase. So I kept suitcases. And
You're listening to Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My guest is Swamp Dogg. He's a singer and songwriter who's been in the game over 60 years. Dozens of solo albums. His latest record is called Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune. It's out now. This song we're hearing right now is called Synthetic World, one of the first singles he released as Swamp Dogg, from one of my all-time favorite records, Total Destruction to Your Mind.
Your world is plastic, can see through to the other side.
Swamp wrote the album when he was working for Atlantic Records in the late 1960s. Back then, he was part of a shop of truly elite-level songwriters. Two of his most frequent collaborators were Gary U.S. Bonds and Charlie Whitehead.
we were the three writers on a lot of stuff. And we were writing that was really great. Well, we thought it was great. Me just playing the piano and singing. I said, man, these songs don't relate to They're just songs, but songs we like. Like Mama's Baby, Daddy's Maybe, then Salafasta, which was nothing.
It's wild nonsense words.
Yeah.
I just have to always stay plastered on Salafasta from Malamassa. They grow it under.
That just meant that we were dropping a little acid. We wrote all this and I said, man, I can't put this out. That's Jerry Williams. And Gary Bonds said, man, I ain't touching it with a 10-foot pole. And Charlie Whitehead, I had already renamed him Raw Spit,
So he shopped the record around the industry and gave himself a new name, Swamp Dogg. And here's a surprise. Major labels weren't biting. Most of them just wanted to release a couple of the tracks as singles recorded by other artists. So he took the album to a little label called Canyon Records and got the whole thing put out as one LP, Total Destruction to Your Mind. And for the album art, he went with a genuinely baffling photograph of him reading a magazine in his underpants with what looks like a stainless steel pot on his head. And he's sitting in, I guess maybe the bed of a truck?
People still write about what it is that I'm doing. They don't know. But it's all right. I'm sitting on some snow on the back of a truck with the gate down, and I got on shorts, I believe, and I got a cap on that we made real fast out of some cardboard that we made it look like a graduation hat, but it It needed about 15 minutes more work to really make it right, you know. But we didn't. And my photographer, he thought it was great because his only job had been taking photos of criminals down at the police station. You know, his name was Willis Hogan. So he helped me with the White Rat too.
This is your second album, Rat On, which features you astride a beautiful steed that is a white rat.
Yeah.
You also have taken a number of pictures in your underpants.
Yeah.
That's a common theme.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I have this desire periodically to get naked. You know, but I don't go all the way.
Are you enjoying being a legend?
What else can I do? It's like seeing a corpse. They'll smile and say, "You enjoy being a corpse." No, man, I just can't figure out how to get out of this thing. What was the question?
The question was, I mean, in 1972, did you think that your legacy, when you were making these Swamp Dogg records, were you thinking, I'm making the ultimate me?
No.
This is what people are going to remember me for?
No.
Or did you think you were just making a lark? These are the songs that were too weird to
No.
sell to Solomon Burke or whatever.
No. My thing was built on love. I love writing. And I'd write a song, and then I'd call my wife down to the basement and say, "What do you think of this?" You know. And sometimes she would say, "Don't put that line in. That's not good." And I'm dealing with Justin Vernon, yeah. Well, you know Justin, right?
I don't know him personally, but I know who he is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's part of the family. And then we got, Ryan Olsen, who's got Polizzi or something like that. Polizzica. He's the one who did all of the sound effects and so forth. Because what I did, I made a record with all the stuff in it I wanted to do. Then I handed it to him to do anything he wanted to do with it. And he did. Took me 3 days to figure out if I liked it. So, but I do. I'm crazy about it. And we opened for Bon Iver. We opened 2 shows for him at Ryan Auditorium a couple months ago.
What did the tight pants white people community think about it?
I was shocked. First of all, when they called my name, they stood up and applauded. They knew my not all of them, you know, but over half had heard of me. And I didn't do anything from the album. And they loved it.
Swamp, where you got to go? You got someplace to be.
No.
Oh, wait, somebody's got to be in here. Tights and Fights are here.
Who?
Yeah, we got another show that's got to use the studio.
No.
But Swamp, thank you so much for coming and being here. It's so nice to see you again.
I'm not finished.
Yeah, I know, but we got to go.
No.
We've been here an hour and a half.
I don't want that.
We did pretty good.
And now the purple dusk of twilight time steals across the meadows of my heart.
Swamp Dogg, ladies and gentlemen. His new album, Love, Loss, and Auto-Tune, is out now. It's wonderful. If you haven't heard any of his records before, please check them out. If you're looking for a place to start, I sincerely think that his record, Total Destruction to Your Mind, is one of the greatest soul albums ever recorded. It is Just an absolute gem. And you know, his other records are pretty darn good too. Can't go wrong with Swamp.